research suggests that thousands of pupils are assaulted by other pupils each term. Teacher and pupil safety in schools is, according to a recent report by the DFES, the most frequently prioritised and most highly ranked of concerns. In this film, we have worked with pupils from Islington Green School, devising dramatic reconstructions to explore how their school addresses pupil safety. We've also turned to security experts who specialise in research and training for the public sector, like Ken Livingston.
The majority of pupils want to live in a safe environment themselves. They want to go to school where they feel safe, as you might well expect. It's a minority of people who cause the majority of problems within schools. Pupils, by and large, want to have a good life at school, and if they fear for themselves, if there's issues of violence, they don't enjoy it any more than staff do.
When we were in Year 7, it was like just mad, really, intimidating.
There wasn't a calm atmosphere like there is now. I mean, it's not completely calm, but
definitely
it's a lot calmer than before.
Since 2002, the pupils and staff at Islington Green School, London, which has a typically challenging inner city catchment, have adopted a clear policy of assertive discipline and behaviour management. Through micromanaging his policies, a slow, steady but significant turnabout has been effected under the leadership of head teacher Trevor Revere-Beeson.
When I arrived at the school, the year prior to that, over 340 youngsters had been excluded out of 1,000 youngsters that year. Now, you know, since April of this year, for the last 7 or 8 months, we've only excluded 1 child. And I think that's a measure of the way in which the school's become calmer. And that's about the school being more open, and that we don't constantly see the business of discipline in the school as being conflict, but actually being assertive, taking positive steps and dealing with them in a grown-up and professional way.
Children used to be really manic, and there's a certain, oh, I'm better than you, towards the teachers. But now I think the teachers respect the students so much, and then it just turns around and the students respect them back so much. And you can get whatever you need from a teacher here. Any help you need with anything, you've got it straight away.
I've been at Islington Green for about 5 years, and there's been a huge cultural shift in behaviour. The shift in ethos of the students as well as the staff has had a real impact on the school and its environment. It's a lot calmer. Through building positive relationships with the students, you know them so well that you don't feel threatened and you don't feel that there's that hostility between student and staff.
A good teacher listens to your opinions and helps you with things and just tells you in their own words that you're safe and nothing's going to happen. If you're going to get bullied and tell the teacher and they don't do anything about it, then obviously you can feel even more scared.
If someone was in real trouble, then the first person they'd go to is either their tutor or their head of year. And because there's such a good relationship with teachers now, where the students sort of know the teachers, not just as their teachers, but as someone that they can talk to as well. So I think a lot of students, wouldn't hesitate in going to their tutor.
In a threatening situation, I'd probably go to my head of year or my tutor.
I'll go to head of year if I was getting bullied, because I don't want to get bullied every day in school.
At Islington Green, they have found that identifying no-go areas for pupils within the school grounds has been a simple and effective way of helping to reduce tension.
Sometimes the girls' changing rooms can be scary because that's when teachers are not around and it's only the girls in there and no teachers come in. So there's fights or people scare each other. That's where big things usually happen.
We found that while we thought we were patrolling the school at various key points actually in the school day, that the students themselves wanted other areas looked at. So we did a very simple exercise where we got the students themselves to identify around the school site, just with stickers on a piece of paper, where were safe areas and where were areas that they felt less safe and secure.
Toilets.
Yeah, especially on your own.
Yeah.
Girls used to just climb over and look down sometimes, and that's just how bad it was, basically.
And they'd smoke in there, and you wouldn't want to go to the toilet. You'd rather spend your day bursting to go and go.
Home.
We've then made sure that people are there on those particular corridors or around the site at key times, and that has really had a positive impact. And a number of the students have come back and said, yep, that place that I didn't like to go to before, it's no problem now.
In assemblies, they tell us where to go to feel safe, so if we were in a troubled situation, we'd go to student reception or somewhere where the teachers could talk to us, like the staff room, so that's what we could go to for help.
We do have one bully box, which is placed in the library, where people can anonymously or not anonymously write their problems down, write who they're being bullied by. And they can, I think that's a really good thing, because they can say who they're being bullied by and nobody knows that they've said it, and the teachers can deal with it straight away without there being any more conflict between the victim and the bully.
Providing clear and consistent information and systems within school for pupil safety is seen as only part of managing a safe, secure learning environment.
Another important element is drawing on outside agencies, outside help. We're very clear about using outside trainers to train our staff both in assertiveness but also in conflict resolution and also in dealing with the needs of youngsters who've got particular issues around anger management.
One of the more significant outside influences to help improve pupil safety at Islington Green has been the presence of a police officer in school for 3 days a week through the Safer Schools Partnership Initiative.
Safe Schools Partnership started about 2 years ago. It was an initiative through the Prime Minister's Street Crime Action Group. The whole idea was to put police officers in schools to help make schools a safer place. They now adopt 4 roles. One is enforcement, which is dealing with truancy and dealing with crimes in school. The second is education, where they will still teach some lessons around citizenship. The third is advisory, where they do things like restorative justice. And the fourth is in a uniform, talking to young people. They stand out as a role model, which is quite important.
It's quite difficult for a police officer coming and working in the school, which is, where they're faced with 1,000 children. It's an amazing
I'd say we had to do quite a lot of work, didn't we, to actually make our officer feel part of the team and also make sure that she was following the same school systems and procedures in the ways that she was dealing with the children, which she certainly does do.
If anyone's troubling you, you can go tell her so she can sort it out for you, prevent anything from happening.
The students will vote with their feet, and if they're offered that support, they don't feel it's valuable, they'll say no very, very loudly to us, but they haven't. So there's something certainly there that they're getting from that relationship.
It's not necessarily in school as well, because there's been a lot of trouble outside of school with, say, other schools or gangs or, anything like that. All that becomes calmed down because there's police officers here already instead of having to call them.
It does stand as a visible presence, having a police officer in school, and there are countless officers that have said the same thing. They've seen large groups of young people coming up to a school, unaware that there's a Safer Schools officer, and have thought better about it and moved off.
If someone wants to rob you outside the school, if the police sees it, it can help you out as well, stuff like that.
The majority of the children feel intimidated, not just in the school, but mainly on the way home from school. And the majority of incidents, whether it's bullying or robbery or theft, happen between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock.
Wait. Stand straight, and we'll kick you.
It's the majority of our time is spent reporting thefts of mobile phones. There is a large number of young people who are getting bullied and victimised for their mobile phones.
Mobile phone thefts tend to happen after school when children are going home.
We try to get police community support officers to monitor routes to and from school, whether it's on the buses, walking through alleyways or just outside the perimeter of the school, because that's where the children feel most vulnerable. There are now quite a few initiatives from the government around mobile phone marking, and certainly police officers in schools will mark the phones and check with the young people that they know their IMEI number, which is on every mobile phone. and give them a chance to get their phones marked.
One of the things that we've talked about in the Safer Schools partnership with our officers is actually making children very well aware of their own personal safety. And Carol, our officer, does actually give talks to girls' groups. She'll go into classrooms and she will talk to particularly children who may be seen to be more vulnerable about their personal safety to and from school. We have victim support who also come in once a week. So sometimes with much bigger issues which may affect children, they can have a counselling session or 2 or 3 or 4 for however long it takes with that person.
I think if you have a system that effectively brings all those people together, then they can deal with issues of conflict and dysfunctional events that arise as they do in a school like ours. And we have a pastoral support meeting once every week with all of these people represented, so we all know what's happening, because I do think that conflict and problems arise in school when we're not clear about who's doing what, how, where and when.
Even with all the support in the world, it can still take courage to report crime.
Underreporting is one of the big problems. If violence is occurring and pupils aren't reporting it, then it might as well be invisible. It's what in criminology we call the dark figure of crime. If you imagine the crime we know about, the incidents in schools of violence that we know about at the tip of the iceberg, underneath there's a huge number of incidents, the dark figure, which we don't know about. And it's those that will ultimately sink us if we can't address them. So the first step is encouraging staff and pupils to report incidents, because it's only when we can measure it that we can manage it.
In the event that they have their money taken or their mobile phone taken, as soon as they come into school, they know that they can come to the student office to report it. Once that's been reported to any one of us, whether that's a senior member of staff, the head of year, the student office, they will alert Carol to that fact if she's in, and they will leave a message on her mobile phone even if she isn't in, so that she can get back to the school.
We've been looking at other ways for them to report crime, so they can actually report crime by texting now, which is obviously very popular. Third-party reporting. They can go online and report crime online. But what we do ask is that any instance or any crime in school goes through the headmaster or the head teacher, and then they will call in the schools officer, who will then sit down and look at whether the crime needs reporting or how they want to take it further.
Because we've developed a positive discipline system, reward children for good behaviour, have a learning zone in school for children with difficulties, and an internal exclusion room, meaning that we never really need to send children home, then there aren't conflicts with those children. They're not upset and angry with the school. Their parents aren't upset and angry with the school. And if they're hanging around in those kind of numbers outside in the streets, the local community is not upset and angry with those children.
In the world of security management, preventing violence or indiscipline getting a foothold is seen as key.
Broken windows theory is the idea that if you imagine a factory which is closed for the last time, it's sitting empty, at some point somebody will break one of the windows. Once one of the windows is broken, the rest of the windows will get broken. It'll be spray painted, at some point it'll be broken into and burnt down. And this is what broken windows theory says about crime in your schools. If it gets a foothold, if one of your windows are broken, it won't go away, it'll only escalate, it'll only get worse until you deal with it, until you address the problem.
If you come and, in effect, deal with children as if they're convicts or animals or yobs or vandals, then you can be sure that that's how they'll continue to be. They'll continue to be yobs and vandals. If you deal with them like civilised human beings, like your own children, and how you want them to be, they won't instantly be that thing, but year on year, month on month, they'll get closer to being that thing that you want, and your school will get closer to being the calm, civilised school that you want it to be.
I used to think this school was more tough and with more bad students, but now I get to know the teachers, the area, and I have friends, so I feel safe.